Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Elizabeth. It's good to have you. Today I come sporting a cap. If you'd like to see a video on how I created it using the Cricut's hat press for the very first time and giving my review, I will link it at the top here. Today's video is about digitizing. So I'm going to be showing you how I digitize this image that I'll place right here. I'm not an expert at digitizing, but I'm learning and improving every time I use the software. So if you would like to see how I do that, stay tuned. So I am in Embird, which is my digitizing software of choice. Before I do that, I'm going to go into the hoop, which is here, and I'm just going to change this. So I'm going to change this to 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. Because I'm doing a very small patch for a cap, and you'll see why I do that shortly. So here it is, my hoop size. Now I'm going to go into image and I'm going to import my image. It says, do you want to scale image to fit into your current hoop? I'm going to say yes. So here is the image that I will be digitizing. It's going to be quite small, so some of the details I am going to leave out. So for example, this white rose detail, I am not going to digitize because it's just not going to translate very well in stitches. So I'm not going to digitize this rose. I am also not going to digitize this detail here of the nose, but other things I will be digitizing. I won't be digitizing these little white dots in the eyes. Okay. So what I want to go into, because I am going to be doing an applique patch, I need to do an outline. So I need to select this tool here, and then I'm just going to start going round, dropping nodes and adjusting them. So whenever you see this circle node, it's a curve and you can pull it in and out. Once you've clicked on that to pull it in or out, you need to then click on the square one to continue in the path that you're going on. So I'm just going to go around this very quickly. It's worth zooming in so you can see a little better. You can turn these curved nodes into a straight line. So if you click on it and then come up here, it converts that node into a straight line for you. So So you can see here it no longer has that curve. And then I'm going to click just past this first node that I've done here, and then lay that last node on top, lay it on top of the first node. Then I'm going to right click, close the edges and click the check mark. Then I'm going to generate the stitches, and if I go into the parameters, I can see here that it's a single stitch, which I'm fine with. The next thing I'm going to digitize is the white of the eyes. So I'm going to go in really close, and for this one I need a filled stitch. So I'm going to click on my filled stitch icon here, and just like before I'm just going to go around the white of the eyes. Now because it is a JPEG, it comes up pixelated when you zoom in, so you just have to decide where you want the border of your outline to be. Then right click on that last node once you've put it on top of the first node, close edges and click the check mark. I'm just going to change that color to white just so it becomes clearer, and that first one I'm going to have black. So I'm just going to drag the color. So what you do is you drag the color, you left click and drag the color down to the stitch that you want to or the item that you want to have as a different color. Now obviously these colors don't really matter, it's just so the machine will know when to start and stop. So this first item I have here, this first stitch, is going to be my my placement stitch for the applique. So if we go back to the eyes, I'm going to generate the stitches, and let me just have a look on the parameters. I'm okay with it being this fill stitch type. There are different types here, but I think I am okay with that one, or I might just have this one actually. Yep, I'll have that one. Apply. Instead of digitizing this other eye, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this eye that I've digitized is highlighted, and then I'm going to go to edit, copy, edit, paste, or you can do the shortcuts, which is Ctrl C, Ctrl V. So I have it here. You can see here now that I have two of the white of the eyes. I'm going to make sure that the one I've just done is highlighted, and then I'm going to go to transform, and I'm going to flip that horizontally. So you can see it here that it's flipped it over, and then I'm just going to drag that over, and I am okay with the way that looks. In order for your machine not to keep stitching and then cutting, you need to create a connection. So I'm going to come up here and create a connection, and we can see here that the connection is going straight across. Now I'm okay with it going straight across like this because I'm going to be digitizing this actual skin tone on top of that, so I'm fine with that. The next thing I'm going to digitize now are the eyes, the green part of the eyes. So again, fill a stitch, and I'm just going to digitize around this part of the eye. Again, I can zoom in to make things easier for me, and you can see here that it's quite pixelated, so you just decide which boundary you want to digitize around. For this, I'm going to go with the green, and if I zoom out, I can then generate the stitches, and if I go into parameters, I am on fill stitch 1, because the white of the eyes were this fill stitch, which is going diagonally, and fill stitch 1 is going vertically. So I'm okay with that, so everything lays nicely. This is quite a tiny stitch. Okay, we can see at the bottom here that it is 4.86 by 3.25 millimeters, which is really tiny. So again, I am going to copy and just paste that over here. So Control C, Control V, and we can see that it has copied. There's 2 of them there. I'm going to drag that over, and again I'm going to flip that horizontally, and I am okay with the way that fits. Okay, again making sure the last item is highlighted, I'm going to create a connection, and I'm going to actually go on that connection, and this time, just so I can show you that you can change the path of the connection, you make sure your connection is highlighted, and then you go into this edit nodes, where you can now pull that up, and you can add more nodes as well. So I'm going to hit the check mark and generate the stitches. Click on the image now, because I don't want those stitches to show while I digitize this part of the eye, so this dark part of the eye. Like I said, I will not be digitizing this white area because it's just way too tiny. So fill stitch, and I'm just going to start going around that black part of the eye. And making sure that last node that I want to use to finish off lays on top of the first one. I can just adjust this ever so slightly. Click back on that last one, right click, close the edge, and hit the check mark. it will automatically color your items you've just digitized the same color as the previous one. So now I'm going to go back in here and just drag down the black color. I'm not going to copy and paste for this part of the eye on this eye here, because it's not identical. So I'm going to just go ahead and just digitize around this black part as well. So fill and just quickly go around. I mean, this part is really tiny, so that's why I'm not really too bothered about whether or not I'm copying it exactly, because when it stitches out it's going to be so tiny that you probably won't even see all these angles that I'm putting in, but I'm just going to do that because it's just easier for me to do rather than guess. So laying that on the top, let's make this a bit more curved. Right click, closed edge. For this one also we want to create a connection. It just helps your machine from stopping and starting, which can wear on your machine. So if I go into the normal view, you can see here the connection it's made there. So I'm just going to adjust that slightly. So I'm going to click on that and go into edit, and I'll just bring that up slightly like that. So what it will do is it will stitch out this eye, and then it will stitch along and then without stopping, and then stitch out this part. So I'll hit the check mark for that. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to digitize the skin tone, and I'm going to digitize on the outside of that black. Right click, close the edges, and I'm going to hit the check mark. Okay, for that part I want to choose a brown color, so I'm going to just drag that color down. Right here I am going to go to convert, okay, and I'm going to now create an outline from fill. It has done that for me. I'm going to change that to black, and the reason I've done that is so I'm not then digitizing again, because I want to put a final bean, triple bean stitch around that fill stitch, which will make it look really nice and polished when the skin tone is done. I'm going to actually just drag this down a minute. Okay, so this skin tone, I'm going to generate those stitches, and let's have a look at the parameters, and I would like it to be fill 2. Okay, this can all be changed at any point, but I'm just going to have it on fill 2 for now. Apply and generate the stitches. Okay, for this outline, so you can either go up here to this icon here, or you can right click on the highlighted item and go into parameters that way. So for this I'm going to look for the triple beam stitch and change that, and I'm also going to change the length. So I'm going to go down to 1.7 and also 1.7 here. Apply and generate the stitches. Okay, right, we're back at the skin tone. I'm going to drag this skin tone down, so highlighted. So you're going to hold down your right mouse button and you can see a little square under that arrow. I'm just going to hover over the last item here, and then you get this window pop up. So it will say, does I want it to be inserted before or after? I want it after. And the reason why I did that is so that I can now, because if it was to stitch out now, it would cover, just because of the order of the way I've digitized things, it would cover everything previously. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go on the white of the eye, and I'm going to Control C, Control V to copy it, and I'm also going to do that with the other eye. Control C, Control V. Right, just for ease, okay, I'm going to just color those red, just so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, now that's done, what I do now is I go on the one that's closest to this skin tone, because what I want it to do now is to have a cutout of the eye. Okay, so it will cut out the stitches around that skin tone layer. So make sure it's highlighted. Then I'm going to go to Convert and create fill to opening. Okay, and you can see here that it has created it. You can just about make out, but if you look here at the parts, you can see that it has made that opening there for you. Okay, so I'm going to do that again for this eye. Make sure that eye is highlighted, Convert, fill to opening, and here we have it. If I just go into the simulator, you will be able to see that. Let me do that again so it's in 3D. I can now that that's done, I can move on with my digitizing. So the next thing I want to digitize is what I have not digitized, which I do want to digitize, is this teardrop here. Again, it's going to be super small, but it's a detail that I want added because it's important to the design. So is the rose. However, I think the teardrop is more of a detail that I want to keep in the stitch out. So let's make that bigger. You can see as soon as you start to zoom in, it gets very pixelated, so it is a matter of choice. Now if it was an SVG, we wouldn't have all this pixelation and it'll be a lot easier to digitize. So you want to make sure that you're always finishing your stitch on top of the first one. Close the ends and hit the check mark. That's going to be white, and then I'm going to drag that just so that because I have a single needle machine, it will just stitch out all the white at the same time. So I'm going to drag that there. I can hover over this one or that one depending which one you're hovered over, and when you let go you can say before, so it's going to put it before that green one. I think I want to change what type of stitch this is. I'm going to change it to an auto column and generate the stitches. Right, another thing that I need to do is, even though this is an applique patch, so this grey part that you're seeing here is going to be actual fabric. Okay, I'm not going to be stitching out this grey part. It's going to be an applique. However, these lines that are going down, I do want to digitize that, so I'm just going to do that very quickly. So for that, I'm going to be using this line stitch. So I'm going to just start here and just work my way down. I've just done a continuous stitch because all these parts are going to be covered by a satin stitch, so it doesn't really matter that we have these bits there. Okay, it's much better than doing just one line at a time and having your machine stop at every line. So much better to just have a continuous stitch. So I'm also going to colour that black just for ease, and I'm going to drag this up so that we have the placement stitch, and then once your fabric is down and you've cut around it, it then stitches out this part. The other detail that I would like to have in this design are these curved parts, because it will just make it look more 3D like the image. So again, I'm going to go with a single stitch, and then I'm going to start here and just start dropping those nodes in. And here I want it to go back, so it kind of goes up and down without stopping. So I'm going to click here, click off, and then try and match it up so it stitches on top of that first stitch. I'm finished with that detail, and that is also coloured black, and I'm going to drag that up so it stitches out after the vertical lines. Okay, so we have the placement stitch, and I'm just going to duplicate this actually. So Control C and V, and I'm going to drag that up. Oops. Drag that up. So, and color that grey, just so my machine knows it needs to cut. Right, so we have the placement stitch, we have the tack down stitch, at which point we then cut round our fabric, and then it starts to do this detailing, and then the eyes. So we've done the skin tone for the face. The next thing I want to do is I want to do the actual teeth here. So because it's so tiny, this kind of detailing here will be lost. So I'm just going to digitize this whole opening here as one solid piece. So I'm going to go into my field stitch and just start tracing around the inside of the mouth. I'm now going to create the detail of the teeth, because if I was to do the simulator now, just so you can see it, it's just a solid piece like that. So what we want is some detailing here, so I'm going to just go around with a single stitch just to do that. So I'm going to click here and just begin to carve out or trace the teeth. So the detail of the teeth are done. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the outline of the lips. So fill, and I'm just going to go around very quickly. Right, that's the lip done, and I'm going to colour that red. Now, that is a fill stitch, so I need to create this opening here. So what I'm going to do that is I'm going to come to this where I digitize the actual teeth, and I'm going to Control C and Control V here that you can see. Let me just color that another color right there, because now what I want to do is I want to create an opening in the actual lips. So making sure that recently copied and pasted item is highlighted. I'm gonna go into convert and fill to opening. Okay, so now you can see we've got an opening. I want to create this outline around the lips and outline around the inside of the mouth also. So I need to go here and I need to go convert, create outline from fill, and it will do that for me, but I need to then, because now I've got that bit also, so I'm going to change these to black, both to black. Okay, so we have the mouth sorted. Right, the next thing I want to do now, and we're coming to the end, is to do the eyelashes. So I'm going to zoom right in, get really nice and close, and I'm going to go to this column fill. Make sure that B is highlighted. If you click this down, there's different types of columns that you can have, but I'm going to do B. And what you do is you lay down a node and you click on the other side, now I'm going to do this top part here, and wherever you've got this highlighted box is your last point, so you know that you have to do it in the opposite direction. Right, I'm just making sure that I'm overlapping that last the bottom lash that I did. Okay, so I'm going to hit the check mark. Brilliant. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a connection so it doesn't stop the stitch. So I'm going to make sure this is highlighted and create connection, and let's generate that so I can see it, and go into normal view. Okay, we have our connection here, so you can see the connection is going across there. It's going to cover the eye. That's not what we want, so we need to edit. Just going to zoom in, and we're going to pull that up so it's actually in the top lash, like that. Generate the stitches, and we are good to go. For the other eye, I'm simply going to highlight and just copy and paste. So Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Okay, now that's all highlighted. I'm now going to go to transform, flip vertically like that, and what I'm going to do is drag that over. Drag it over and just have it sitting like that. Now I can see here that this connection is going across the eye. So what I can do is I'm going to edit that. So we're going to go edit nodes and just bring that up like that, hit the check mark. Okay, so we've got the eyes done. Now we need to do the eyebrows. So zoom right in, and I'm going to go for the fill stitch, and I'm just going to trace around these eyebrows. Generate those stitches, and then I'm going to copy that as well. going to flip it and drag that over. It just saves on having to digitize again. And I think for that last one so I'm going to select both of them, go into parameters, play with the density. I think I might bring that down slightly. Let's have a look at the fills. I think I prefer this one, fill 2. Let's apply that and generate. Okay, so for the final stitch, I am going to copy this again. So this is going to do the final satin stitch, and I'm going to go into parameters, and we're going to change that to a satin stitch, and I'm just going to bump this up to 2.5 because it's such a small such a tiny stitch out that I think that will be fine. Right, let's have a look. So I'm just going to select everything. So I'm going to draw a box around it, make sure all the stitches are generated. Okay, and then we are going to have a look at the sew simulator. So let me just make that a little bit smaller, and we're going to go, let's have a look at it 3D. So this is what it's looking like in 3D. Okay, but let's have a look at how it's going to sew. So we have the placement stitch, followed by the tack down stitch. This is the point where I will trim my fabric. Just speed that up slightly. So this is the detailing on the balaclava. It's always good to do your simulation. So I'm going to stop this there because I don't want it to do that. So stop. So here where it's stitched this out first, I'm actually going to drag that down. So let's try that. So I've just dragged that the detailing of that, the bean stitch detailing, I've just dragged it down. So let's simulate again. I'm going to speed it up. I could, which I'll do in a minute, is to make sure my machine doesn't stop when it's doing the detailing. I'm going to do a connection there. So it's always good to see the sew simulator, because then you can work out where you have any issues. So I am happy with that. The only thing I want to change is perhaps add a connection here. Let's have a look at it. Normal. So it's putting the connection there, which I'm not too keen on. So I'm going to change that. Okay, let's try the simulator just to check that connection, and I'm happy with that. that's fine. So here is the patch digitized. What I then do next, because we sized the image, I then go into image. I can then delete my image, and then I can go into my hoop size, and then I am going to pick a hoop that works with my machine, which is the Janome 550 embroidery machine. So I'm going to look for the smallest hoop. It is now set up to be stitched out on my embroidery machine, and if I just kind of highlight the whole thing, you can see here that it is quite a small image. Okay, it's a very small image. It is 51.03 by 93.73 millimeters, and that is the size of the patch that I am going for. In order to save it, first I'm going to save it as an editable digitized file. So save as, name it Bally Girl. So I'm going to save it as Bally Girl, and then I'm going to now save that so it's ready for my Janome. So I'm going to skip that and make sure that my machine is selected here. I'm going to check OK and save it. And I tend to save things ready for my machine there, and it's Bally Girl JEF. Okay, and that's it. I can move this so it's not sitting in the middle. So I like to not have it in the middle, so I'm not wasting stabilizer, and then I can click file and save, and it'll just save it as that where I've placed it. So that's it, and then I can then transfer that file. So this is saved on a USB that I use in my computer, and then what I do is I take my formatted USB out of my machine, plug it into my computer, and then drag the file over, ready to be stitched. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a super long video. I am not an expert at digitizing. I am learning. I'm sure there's definitely lots more for me to learn. I'm pretty sure there are some errors in the way that I digitize, but I'm trying to get better at it by practicing a bit more. So I'm learning new things each time I digitize. So I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the actual stitch out of this Bally Girl design, which is going to be a patch on a cap.
If you found this video useful or interesting, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet done so, and click that bell for notifications so you know when I upload a new video. Please feel free to interact with the video by leaving any comments in the comment section. Let me know, do you use any other digitizing software? I've only ever used Embird. Let me know if it's similar or different. I will also be uploading the video of that actual stitch out, so stay tuned for that one. And as always guys, don't have a good day, have an amazing day. Bye!